Hi, welcome along to Transfer Daily, and news today, of course, that Thomas Vermaelen has signed for Barcelona, has left Arsenal and officially signed for Barcelona. And it's pretty sad, really. Thomas Vermaelen's been a very good servant to Arsenal Football Club. He was, of course, our club captain. Fell out of favour, especially last season, where the preferred combination was Koscielny and Mertesacker, and he never really regained his place after a series of injuries. His form dropped off a bit, but don't forget, when he first came to Arsenal, he was a very, very good player for us. He was probably, the first time for a few years that we'd had a decent centre-half there, and, the guy basically wants to play. You can't begrudge him of that, and to go to Barcelona when you can't get into Arsenal and play, I mean, you can't blame him for that. And also, well done to Arsenal for not selling him to Manchester United. I'm fed up of selling some of our best players to our rivals. Apparently, Manchester United put in a higher bid than Barcelona, but Arsenal turned it down and said, no, we're not selling to you guys. We've sold you enough already. Our policy now is we're not selling to our rivals. And he's gone to Barcelona. I am a bit miffed, though, that we allowed him to get down to just 1 year of his deal left, because he would have been a good player to have held on to, but he has gone now, and he's gone to Barcelona, and we wish him the best of the luck. And take note, Sami Nasri, who's been in the papers today shooting off his mouth, talking about Arsenal fans are stupid for, slating him for the way he left, and, he wanted to better himself. No, you left in a completely different way. You left in a completely disrespectful way. And that is why you get so much stick from Arsenal fans in comparison to Vermaelen. That when he comes back, I'm sure he'll get a good round of applause from the Arsenal fans. So good luck to Thomas Vermaelen. Now it all turns to who we're going to bring in. Links today are linking us again with Mats Hummels. Now, listen, it's been quite categoric from Jurgen Klopp, the manager of Borussia Dortmund, that they're not selling Hummels. That's what they're saying. They're not selling Hummels. Yet still, papers today are saying that Arsenal are battling with Manchester United to try and sign Hummels for £25 million. Now, whether it's going to come down to a thing where an offer is made for Hummels that Dortmund can't refuse, or will Dortmund say, listen, we are not selling him, full stop, so stop bothering us. We're going to have to wait and see, but apparently both Manchester United and Arsenal are very, very interested in signing Mats Hummels. That is being claimed in the Daily Mail today, who are saying that it's a fight between them two as to who's going to get him. I still probably think that none of us will get him, and he'll stay with Borussia Dortmund, but we'll have to watch that one and see what happens. Another person that's been linked with Arsenal today is Eduardo Vargas. Now, he's plays for Napoli at the moment. You would have seen him in the World Cup playing for Chile, one of Alexis Sanchez's teammates. And apparently, as the story goes, Alexis Sanchez has been trying to convince Arsene Wenger that we should move for Vargas. Got a brilliant record for Chile. He scored 13 goals in 17 games for Chile. Brilliant record for Chile, but not as great for Napoli, where he's kind of struggled in that team. We cost about £10 million. I don't know whether this story is true or not. How the Metro newspaper would know that Alexis Sanchez is trying to have a word in the ear of Arsene Wenger when he's only just turned up there to sign Eduardo Vargas. But we're being linked with Eduardo Vargas today. Also being linked again with Edison Cavani. Caught offside. They're well known for their transfer rumours, well known for getting a lot of them wrong, like a story that they put out a few weeks ago where they said that Kadira was going to be signing on the Monday. Very bold story. Nothing happened with that, as we know. Well, their latest big story that they're going with is that Edison Cavani, Arsenal put in a £50 million bid for Cavani and are trying to bring him in to Arsenal. Also, that they're willing to offer a player with that to try and tempt PSG into signing into letting Cavani go. Cavani doesn't seem 100% happy at PSG. Been playing out on the right wing, hasn't been playing in his favoured position through the middle. Again, you know, listen, these are stories where we're going to have to wait and see what happens with Cavani. £50 million, is Cavani worth that much anymore? I mean, don't get me wrong, when he was at Napoli, absolute beast, but last season, you've got to say, he didn't have the greatest of seasons. And even in the World Cup, the player that we was expecting to see, we didn't see. In the Champions League qualifiers and matches last year as well, didn't really turn up in those games against Chelsea. So is he worth 50 million? That's the other thing you have to ask yourself. But apparently they're saying today that, caught offside, that Arsenal are willing to pay £50 million, bid £50 million to try and bring Cavani in. He would be the sort of quality player that would really, really make Arsenal into a really, really strong team. But we're going to have to wait and see if that comes to fruition, that story today. And finally, couldn't have to show without a Khedira story. Now, as Arsene Wenger told us a few days ago, he said he's not interested in bringing in Sami Khedira because he's already got box-to-box midfielders at the club. I don't know. I think it's been pretty clearly obvious that Arsenal have been talking to Real Madrid about Khedira. There has definitely been something in that. Now, there's a story out today from a Catalan newspaper called Sport, and they're claiming that Arsenal still interested in Khedira and that they might be playing a waiting game and be trying to put a bid in at the last minute because, of course, Real Madrid really want to get rid of Khedira. He's got 1 year left on his contract. They even want him to sign a new contract at the price that they want to deal at, or they want to get rid of him because they've signed so many players this summer. And they may be willing to deal with Arsenal if Arsenal are interested. Now, as I said, Wenger said a few days ago, there's no interest in Khedira. This paper claiming today, Catalan paper, very close to Barcelona, are claiming today that there has been talks and that Arsenal might be preparing to put their bids in at the last minute. Again, it's one of those where we're going to have to wait and see what happens. It is a bit of a waiting game at the moment to find out who Arsenal are going to bring in. Of course, I always say January. The transfer window, summer transfer window, is going to be closing on the 31st of August. So, you know, it's just a few weeks left really to get the business done. And of course, there are, defender, holding midfielder. Everybody knows that Arsenal need those positions filled. Let's find out what you guys were saying yesterday about things. Diego Constantino says we should get Hawidis from Schalke. He played fullback for Germany and he can play centre back. He'd be a perfect replacement for Vermaelen, and he's German, so that means that he would also be able to talk to Lars Bender, and both of them have got good experience and Champions League experience, so that's who he would like to see coming in. Olivier Giroud says we won't be ready. We won't be ready tomorrow. We will already field a weaker team without the German players. Wilshere always moans after losing the ball and goes to ground. I hope we win, but Sanchez is new and he needs to gel. It's not looking very likely that we will beat City at some point. I don't know, that's a bit harsh to say. I think we've got a very, very good chance of winning that game today, the Community Shield, where we play Manchester City. Yes, there are positions still to be filled. For instance, who's going to play at centre back? But we've got a very good chance in that game today. MLG Brown Cat says Nkulu, 1 year left on his contract, the best centre back in Ligue 1 in France. Marseille are struggling financially. He says we should go in and get him. Luca Quarta says if you want a top class centre half, Robbie, we should go and get Hummels. All right, so that's another one for Hummels. As I said, Hummels is not just a matter of money, it's a matter of if Borussia Dortmund are willing to sell their very, very best defender. Daniel Sutherland says, don't understand why some people say Cavani isn't that good. He's a world-class striker who can bag lots of goals. He scored lots of goals from the right wing, which is very good for an out-and-out striker. He would be perfect fit for us and would release more pressure for Giroud. listen, Cavani is, I think he's a top-class player. As I said, didn't have a great season last year, but he is class. Daniel Sutherland says, again, oh, sorry, we've already done that one. Addicted257 said, a week to go until the season starts, and Arsenal have 2 centre-backs and have not signed a defensive midfielder. Simply unacceptable. Arsenal are going to get smashed in the Community Shield, but it's a glorified friendly, so who cares? Why are we going to get smashed? However, Arsenal's second game of the season is away at Everton, where we got smashed last year, and numerous other top-tier teams in the early part of the season also got dealt with there. Arsenal should have a CDM well in place prior, and now we need a centre-back as well. The fact is that we've got to this stage. The fact that we've got to this stage is farcical. The way Arsenal are acting, they are going to get destroyed again when we play Everton. Absolute joke. Now, listen, I do believe that we should have had these. Particularly, we know Vermaelen's going. We should have had somebody in place for that, because I think it's pretty obvious about a month ago that Vermaelen's going. So we should have got somebody in place in that position. Defensive midfielder as well, but again, it all depends who we're going for. I don't think I could go along with him that we're going to get smashed away at Everton, but I would like to see these players in place. Arsene Knows Best says, I'm wondering if Serge Gnabry could be loaned out. I'd like to see him play for Arsenal, but there are too many players in front of him at the moment. Why not loan him to a Premier League team and have him hurt some of our rivals? Mourinho did this with Lukaku, who terrorised the league last season. Jose also upped his value so that he could sell him for inflated £28 million to Everton. Gnabry, Miyake and Akpom all have high potential, but they need to play against the big boys. I can see Miyake eventually getting to become a very good player. Last couple here. Peanut Bobo 10 says, I'd like to see a defensive midfielder like Matuidi or Tiote of Newcastle. They're really aggressive and know how to pass up. I would prefer Tiote because of his Premier League experience. Tiote, the only thing about him is he commits so many fouls. You know, liable to get sent off a lot, sometimes a bit too aggressive in that position. And last one here I'll go for is hundreds and hundreds. Not for Video says, is it just me or does anyone else think that Vermaelen could have been our CDM problem solver? He's done well there before, and I think another captain leaving doesn't send a good message to our squad. Listen, there's always been that argument. A lot of fans have been putting that argument for quite a long time, that why not make Vermaelen play in that position as a central defensive midfielder? We don't know. Maybe they tried it out in training and it didn't really work out. But whatever we're thinking, he's gone now. Thomas Vermaelen is history. He's now at Barcelona, and we must get in somebody very good in that position. We may see a player today who could be a good shout for there, and that's Nastasic at Manchester City. Again, would City sell to Arsenal? They've taken enough of our players. Would they sell to us? Somehow I get the feeling that they would rather sell him anywhere else apart from see him coming across to us and then Arsene Wenger developing him into a top defender. Well, that's the end of Transfer Daily today. Looking forward to the game later on if this weather holds up. Terrible weather over here in the UK today. But looking forward to the game today. Should see Alexis Sanchez. Hoping to see also Joel Campbell in that game. Arsenal versus Manchester City in the Community Shield. Kick off at 3 o'clock. Going to be a great, great game. Really looking forward to that. It is a friendly, but somehow with Sami Nasri's comments today, I get the feeling that that game's got a lot of spice to it, and it's going to be a lot more than a friendly today. Looking forward to it. We'll be back tomorrow with Transfer Daily, and we'll also have a little rundown of how that game went. Thanks for watching.